Barakim Habarim, welcome to Messianic Moment Ministries. I'm Stephen Bruck. You know who you are, and today is the 15th day of July, 2022. Well, on today's Parashah reading, we now come to the story of Balaam, the prophet who was asked by Balak, the king of Moab, for whom this Parashah is named, to curse the Israelites encamped just outside his territory. Now, Balaam, although a sorcerer and user of magic, apparently is also someone who knows the true God and as such asks God for his guidance regarding this request. Well, God says when it comes to cursing the Israelites, Balaam is not to do so because they are blessed. In other words, hey, they're my people and you will not say anything against them. Well, Balaam tells the committee of princes sent by Balak that he cannot help them, and after they tell Balak sends more important men with a greater promise of reward. Here's where Balaam's faithful obedience begins to waver. So even though God already told him no, Balaam tells this second group that he will ask again. And God tells Balaam this time that if he is summoned to go, but he is not to curse the people. Well, Balaam goes to Balak, and God, realizing that he's going with the intention to curse anyway, sends an angel to stop him. Balaam doesn't see the angel, but his donkey does, and 3 times the donkey goes off the path to avoid the angel. The 3rd time, Balaam beats the ass, and that's when God allows the ass to speak. And after the ass sets Balaam straight, the angel becomes visible. Now Balaam realizes that, well, his ass saved his ass these 3 times and says he will go home. But God tells him, keep going, but say only what God tells him to say. See, I believe God now intends to use Balaam to further bless the people and teach both Balaam and Balak a lesson. Well, Balak is happy to see Balaam, but after 3 separate attempts to get the people cursed, with Balaam obeying God and blessing them each time, well, Balak furiously sends Balaam home without pay. But before leaving, God gives Balaam a prophetic warning to Balak and the other kings there with him regarding the Acharit HaYamim, which is the end days. Well, so no, there's a number of interesting issues here, but I'm going to boil it down today to reduce today's lesson to one simple message. You ready? Here it comes. When God says something, that's all there is to it. Balaam at first did as God said, but when he was further tempted with more money, he tried to finagle a way for God to let him go. The Torah wording seems to say that God told him it was okay to go, but then sent an angel to kill him because he went. You know, when I first read this, I thought, what's up with that? In Numbers 22:12, God tells Balaam, thou shalt not go with them. But after Balaam asks the second time, in Numbers 22:20, God says, if the men are come to call thee, rise up, go with them, but only the word which I speak unto thee, that shalt thou do. That's from my Chumash, those wordings. Anyway, so I believe God is now telling him if he is summoned to go, in other words, if he's given a royal command to appear, well, then he shouldn't disobey the king. The Talmud, though, states that Balaam's second request rested from God approval to go, but the statement God made about speaking as God says to is a warning that if Balaam really wants to disobey, well, go ahead and do so, but there will be consequences. This makes a lot of sense, you know, considering that God sent an angel to kill Balaam for having decided to go. I said today's message, or lesson, if you will, is simple. God means what he says. People don't mean what they say, they mean what they do. But God isn't people. He is God. He says what he means what he says, and besides that, he does what he says he will do. That goes for punishment as well as forgiveness. God's instructions regarding how he wants us to live are given to all of us by God through Moses in the Torah. There is no other place, anywhere, throughout the entire Bible, I'm talking Genesis through Revelation, where God specifically says to do certain things in a certain way. Now, what Paul says, or what John says, or Peter, or James, the Pope, the WCC, the Talmud, whatever and whoever, within any religion that tells anyone to do anything other than what God said to do in the Torah, well, they're Balaam. God tells us how to worship him and how to treat each other. And that is all we need to know. As I said before, when God says something, that's all there is to it. In the Torah, God tells you and me and all of us how he wants us to live. You have the option to obey or reject what he says, but if you ignore it and choose to accept what some religion tells you to do instead, well, you're no better than Balaam, trying to get God to change his mind about something he already told you to do. God means what he says. Balaam found out about that the hard way. Later, in Numbers, we will see that Balaam still tried to win Balak's favor, and that ended up costing him his life. Well, thank you for being here. Please subscribe to my website. There's a subscribe button in the right-hand margin, and one of these icons around here somewhere on YouTube channel lets you subscribe here as well. Do them both. Share these messages, please, with everyone you know to help this ministry continue to grow. And when you're on my website, check out my books. I also have a discussion group on Facebook. It's called Just God's Word. So please join. And when you do, please read and agree to the rules first. I can't let you join if you don't agree to the rules. And remember, I always welcome your comments. That's it for this week. So, Lehitraot and Shabbat Shalom.